Welcome to Tales She Told Me, a podcast featuring ordinary women who have overcome and done extraordinary things. I'm your host, Farrah Haidar. Joining me today is Gellyahnah Aakhen. Born with intuitive talents, Gellyahnah always felt different from everyone, and from a very young age had a strong fascination with mysticism. As a teen, she would seek out psychics, study astrology, palm readers, and anything esoteric she could get her hands on. While she was always in touch with this aspect of her essence, it was the end of her marriage that took her on a healing journey and a deep spiritual quest. While healing her heart from childhood wounds, betrayal, and abandonment, she discovered the ancient methodology of the soul contract work. Decoding and understanding her own soul contract, what her soul signed up for in this life, played such an instrumental part in her own healing and awakening. She then decided to become a soul's contracts practitioner to help others heal and remember their purpose in this incarnation. Gellyahnah, thank you for joining me today. So I'm going to just acknowledge I think, the elephant in the room, right? Like when people hear soul contracts, they go, well, that's odd or weird. But what I understand is prior to becoming a soul contract practitioner, yes, you had this fascination with mysticism, but you led actually quite a conventional life, correct?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very mainstream. As mainstream as it comes.
I think that always happens. Like you almost have to keep it mainstream. So you're sitting here living this mainstream life, and kind of put us in the environment. Like what were you doing, and how did you end up doing soul contracts?
Yeah, so wonderful, wonderful question. So I'll tell you my whole entire life, I've always been, I don't know, intuitive, like kind of how you said in the bio. It's just always been there, but it was always in the background. And I always looked at it as my own interest. Like everyone has an interest and a hobby, and that just happened to be mine. I never thought oh, this is an interest of mine. I should pursue this for any other reason than it's just fascinating to me. So, growing up, I went to college and I did the whole normal thing. I majored in communications. I had two jobs out of college. Very quickly realized I am an entrepreneur
Mm-hmm.
and I cannot work for other people. I
Yeah.
mean, that could be a whole story in itself, but I ended up launching my own company at 27,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a business networking company. So essentially, I would host business networking events for entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, small business owners to come together and network and meet people. And I did that here in my local town, Phoenix, Arizona. The unique thing that happened though is that at the time I was married to a software engineer, and he took my concept, my personality, my idea, and built out this extremely progressive software platform that in 2007 didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we launched it, it was, essentially it was a community building platform. And now, that's a very common thing. But in 2007, it wasn't. So when we launched it, it created this like tsunami almost through the town where I was literally able to pull the whole town together. I would
Mm-hmm.
have events where 1,500 to 2,000 people would show up to my networking events four times a
Wow.
year. Yeah.
Wow.
And I did that for 14 years, right? So here locally. So in many ways, I was also the non-technical founder of a tech company. It was a
Mm-hmm.
startup. I had to prove the concept. I was this 27-year-old running around with my hair up in a bun, jeans and whatever else. Like I'm
Yep.
still transitioning from my own, like, young adulthood to, what am I doing? Like I didn't even realize what I had created.
Yep.
Let's put it that way. And there were so many times where I was the only female, sitting at the table because
Mm-hmm.
I was in a very much male dominated field, tech people and everybody was fascinated by what we had created because like I said, back then it wasn't um, a thing, it wasn't so common and everybody saw the impact it had made on the town. So it gave me quite a bit of a mini celebrity status, here
Mm-hmm.
in Phoenix. And, because of that, I got to do a lot of fun things. But to fast forward for you, um, around the age of my early 30s, so I don't know, 31, 32, 33, I had my daughter when I was 31. And it essentially the marriage didn't work out. I was with my ex-husband for 17 years. Okay, so again, this
Wow.
wasn't like, oh, a few years. Those 17 years, that's a whole lifetime. We did a lot together.
Yeah.
And but by that point, after our daughter was born, it was like, okay, it's really time to split ways. So I not only did I go through a personal divorce, but he was also my business partner, right?
Yep.
So this was a business divorce. This was a personal divorce. 17 years. I mean, a lifetime of things that needed to now, um,
Be separated.
separate.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now of course looking at my soul contract, like this all makes sense. I mean, it's all in there, like boom, 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 but
Yeah.
if living it, you're just like, oh, what is happening right now? And so I went on anyway. So I carried the company for 7 more years by myself without him as my partner. And I actually ended up having somebody rebuild the software to make it more modern. And I'm taking it to the point of where the transition happens. And
Hmm.
so because of the divorce, really the divorce is what pushed me into going on a healing journey, right? Again, I've
Yeah.
always been intuitive, and I understood spirituality very naturally,
Uh-huh.
but the divorce really propelled me to be more active now in the healing and the journeying. And that took me to many supernatural and magical places. I met with um, a local person, a local gal here who did exceptional healing work. I literally just walked into one of her meetup sessions. Today she's my best friend,
Yeah.
but it was like I just literally walked in, and I mean, her and I just have this deep connection because of
Hmm.
who we both are. And she helped me through so much of that healing. And because of what she introduced me to, I traveled around the country meeting with different healers. I live in Phoenix, so I went to Sedona quite a bit. And I was trying to experience every supernatural, uh, mystical experience I can put my hands on, and studying at the same time, like studying esoteric information. What is this, right? Because I've always known it and had this intuition, but I needed human words for what was
Yeah.
happening. So during this process, I came across the soul contract work.
Yep.
And when I first saw it was like every cell in my body was on fire. It was this like awakening on a whole other level. I was like, what is this? This is incredible. I couldn't eat it up fast enough. And this was in 2018. So just to give you perspective, I think I was 37, 38 around this
Yeah.
time. And still running my company, right?
Yeah.
The other company. And now getting obsessed with soul contracts. So of course the first thing I did is decode everyone's soul contract, my family, my friends, and I'm studying and doing all this stuff.
So
And
before you go a little bit deeper, I just want to pause here for a second because I, like, you know what a soul contract is, but can you give us a little bit of the background of it? Like, what is it based on? I know it's based on sound. I know it's actually an Abrahamic um, belief system, I believe. But go ahead. If you could give us a little bit of the background, that would be because I think a lot of people don't really know what it is.
yeah, no, absolutely. So the soul contract work that I do it's based on sound frequency, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, there's different ways to look at people's soul contracts, and the way that I do it is by taking your birth name, because your birth name it's a very powerful vibration. It's literally the vibration of your soul signature. And I take the birth name and I literally decode it into sound frequencies, into the Hebrew sound frequencies, because ancient Hebrew, is one of the five sacred languages that are pure vibration of Source, the Creator.
Okay.
So I decode it into these frequencies and I put it around the Merkaba. The Merkaba, the 2D version of it looks like a Star of David. It's a sacred geometry symbol. And
Uh-huh.
when I do that, it literally tells me the karma that you brought into this lifetime, your unique talents, the goals, right? Like, what are the things you're here to accomplish? And ultimately, what is the core purpose of why you're here?
Okay. So you said you started decoding soul contracts. I'm going to put you back where you were. You're starting to code soul contracts. And what was kind of like your aha moment? Like, this is what I want to do with my life.
Yeah, so it was building up to it because I started taking on clients and I'm like, man, this would be incredible if I could just read people's soul contracts all day long and not have to deal. Because the other company at this point, it was a dream that turned into a nightmare.
Yeah.
Because I was so done with it at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But it was, you can imagine, it was such a big part of my identity, right? I launched it at 27. Everybody here locally knew me as, the networking girl. And I mean, I was so tied to it. I mean, and financially, right? At this point, I'm a single mom, I mean, this is where my money's coming from. So, um, around my 40th birthday, or on my 40th birthday. This must have been on, like, we're talking weeks, like within my 40th birthday. First off, when I woke up that morning, I had the most like daunting feeling. Every sense was going off, clairaudient, clairsentient, clairvoyant, all of it. And it was this feeling and knowing of, if you do not step into your soul's purpose, we're sending you trauma, or more like we're not protecting you anymore in this, networking Phoenix 3D, whatever thing you've been doing. Like that, like we're done. So I'm like, wow, that is a weird message to wake up on your birthday, you know?
Yeah. Happy
But
birthday.
yeah, I listen, like I'm very like again, I've been going through this journey, right? Like it kicked off, like I said, around, 33-ish, and now I'm talking 40 years old. So this is like, six some plus whatever years in the making. And I was like, okay. And I did a healing reading session, again with my friend Katie, who I'd mentioned, I
Mm-hmm.
walked into her meetup. And the messages that came through were just so powerful. Like, you are here to help people heal their hearts. It was just so much of it was about healing. My point is, between that message and what came through in the healing, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I don't even know what this is, but I'm going to do this. And I had no idea how I would get clients for soul contract readings. Now, having said that, again, I have 14 years of,
Entrepreneurial experience. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I know how to run a bit. I was a business coach. Like I would coach people on how to launch a business. So I wasn't too worried about it, but I didn't quite understand the mechanics. And this is important because I think most of us don't. When we want to transition, we don't always understand the mechanics of things. But I listened to the message and energetically I said, okay, I'm in, whatever that means. And I got on TikTok. I
Mm-hmm.
got on TikTok and I started sharing about soul contracts. And Farrah, I kid you not, overnight I blew up. My
Mm-hmm.
video started to go viral, and I woke up one morning to being booked out through the end of the year, December
Wow.
31st. And that was only because I didn't have my calendar open to January. People were emailing and saying, I can't get on your calendar.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, I got this.
Yeah.
Now I understand. So I very quickly put up the other company for sale. I sold it within a few months to a wonderful couple. It was like giving my baby, like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm done with the baby. That's actually now a teenager. Take it.
Yeah.
They did. They're doing beautiful things with it. So it's beautiful for me to see, that that company is still growing and thriving and doing its thing. And
Mm-hmm.
this was literally the smoothest transition of my life because I stepped into my soul's purpose and doing what I was meant to be doing. And I was so incredibly heavily supported. All I had to do was trust and let go.
Yeah. I think that's probably the hardest thing. Would you agree? Like to trust and
Yeah.
let go. I think you probably see this in your clients. You're telling them this is what you should be doing, and they're like, no. Or maybe they say yes. I don't know. I can see some people going, I don't know if I'm able to do that or able to trust that much in the process.
Yeah. Well, it's a process. I mean, listen, like I said, this wasn't for me. The healing journey was like what, 6, 7 years?
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, so, I mean, had I been given that message, actually, in retrospect, I think I could have left the company when my divorce happened. Right? I
Wow.
chose to stay with it for 7 more years, and everything happened in 7-year cycles. So
Yeah.
in retrospect, I actually probably had some exit option there energetically that I didn't take because I wasn't ready to let go.
Yeah. So now, obviously, when you're a networking person, the pitch is kind of easy, right? Or when you meet people, it's easy to tell them, yeah, I do networking for a living. But how does I do soul contracts for a living go down with people when you meet them?
Oh yeah. Oh, that's my favorite part. Like I just love I tell people exactly what I do. I'm like, I run a global spiritual community and I do energy healings and read people's soul contracts. And then I just wait for them to like,
I'm sure there are a lot of
Um,
questions after that. What do you mean?
yeah, yeah, so many questions. Exactly, exactly. Yeah, and to be honest, I don't actually meet too many people. I don't because my networking work made me so public. I'm in the phase of my life now where I'm extremely introverted, so
Yes.
I don't meet too many people, believe
Yeah.
it or not.
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on how you define me. Because, I mean, I think reading someone's soul contract is actually a very intimate thing, right? Like you're
Yes, yes,
looking.
yes. No, daily, of course, I do readings, but I meant people outside of the soul contract work or, just randomly having a conversation like what I do for a living.
And has it kept going? Like, how long have you been doing this? What, 4 years now? Five? Five?
So in 2018 is when I started. So whatever that math is to
Yeah, it's
20.
five.
Yeah. But I have been doing this full time. So 40, I'm 42. Yeah, so 2 years now.
Wow. And you still see it. So describe to us, like, what a reading is like, right? Like, how, when you obviously need all this information about their names and I believe birth date and stuff like that. Then you read the contract. What happens then?
When I'm doing a reading with somebody, do you mean you want me to take you through how what I see or how the other person responds?
Both. Like, just like, how do you set up the meeting, you're having this reading. Like, what are some of the things that come up? How do people respond? Have you ever had a bad experience with someone? That would be interesting.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So usually what happens is, again, I get the person's soul contract and I have it in front of me, we start the reading and um, it- oftentimes I'll start with their karma because most people very much resonate with their karmic aspects because these are the negative patterns in our lives. For instance,
Mm-hmm.
attracting narcissists, having abusive parents, having a mother wound, right? And so, I mean, I get right into it. There's no, they're here for a reason. So we get into, okay, this is what I'm seeing, what's going on, how is this playing out in your life? Every reading is completely different because it depends on the person in front of me. Some people have worked through so much of their negative patterns that we're very much able to uh, a lot of people and people are looking for different things. Some people are looking for validation. Some people are looking for an understanding of their life. When I do the readings, I always also make sure to focus on what your actual divine will is. Like,
Mm-hmm.
meaning, I don't just sit there and tell you about your karma. Like, I mean, we start with that because that's usually, again, what everybody tends to relate to easier. But um, I will tell you what your potential is and what you're actually here to do and accomplish. Now, does that mean that people, change their entire lives and follow that path? I don't know. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. I've had some people come back and say, after your reading, I changed my entire life and now I've gone a whole different direction. And I'm like, wow, that's incredible. And some people will probably in 1 year and out the other.
Yeah. What do you think makes someone sign up for it? Like, obviously, there's curiosity, right? People are just curious. But what are some of the reasons that people have told you, oh, this is why I wanted this done?
Yeah, no, that's actually on my intake form. So everyone has a very specific reason. I do believe that validation is one of the top reasons people want
Yeah.
to be validated. Because what I often hear is I'll tell them what I see in their soul contract, and they'll say, I can't believe you just said that because this is what I think. And I just didn't know if something was wrong with me, or if I'm weird, or if or like I haven't been able to talk to anybody else about this. So when they hear a stranger on the internet express their deepest thoughts,
Yeah.
again, it gives them validation for their existence in many ways, because so many people wonder, why am I here? That right there is another big one. Why am I here? What am I
Mm, yeah. Yeah, I think we're all just kind of looking for purpose, and you know, maybe this is one way of finding it. Um, what do you foresee as your future? Are you going to continue to do this indefinitely? What do you think?
Yeah, I think soul contracts is always going to be a part of who I am. I mean, this is my language. I've done this in past lives, and it's what I speak. I don't know how I would turn that off. I am doing a lot of other great things, though. I mean, outside of doing readings daily, I also do energy healing sessions, which
Okay.
are extremely powerful. I don't talk too much about that on my social media because most people don't understand energy healing. They automatically maybe connect it to Reiki, and it causes too much confusion. So usually after people have done a reading with me, or they're on my email list, I'll invite them into my monthly sessions,
Mm-hmm.
and those are magical. I mean, people have supernatural experiences. I've had people that have done every single one because they've seen such benefits and results. We've had people from physical healings to relationship healings to emotional, to being awakened to their own unique gifts and talents. It's unbelievable almost. Like even for me, I'm like, I mean, I know this works because it worked. I know what this energy healing, the one that I do, is called Connecting with the Creator. I know what it's done for me. But to see this happen for other people, again, this is all virtual. This is all over Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
No one's coming into my actual house. To see these results is fascinating. So, um, yeah, I mean, so I do the healing sessions, I do the readings, and of course, everyone's requesting they want to go deeper into their soul contract. So, in November, I'll be teaching a course on, going deeper into your own soul contract, understanding your chart a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so what I see for myself is evolution of my own
Yeah.
craft.
That's amazing. So I want to jump back to the energy healing for just a second. Like, would you mind describing the process of it? Like, if someone signed up for this, what could they expect?
Yeah, I can try, but there are like not too many human words for what happens. Absolutely. So for about it's an hour and a half, and we go into a trance. So the first 30 minutes or so is very gentle, very slow, because we're assembling into the creator soul.
Mm-hmm.
Our soul is assembling into the creator soul, and I mean, the creator is God, source. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the energy can't just come in and go, oh, there you are, let me touch you. We have to gently assemble into it. So usually about the 30 to 45-minute mark, people start to feel incredible sensations, and this can range anywhere from tingly all over your body, feeling like there's pressure like a blanket, like you're wrapped in it tightly in a blanket. You can feel hot, you can feel cold. Many people have visions, really vivid visions. Um, People get messages. Also depends on your own talents. Like if you're a clairaudient, you're going to hear things,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, it oftentimes it feels like you're floating. Like there was one time I literally had to open up my eyes because I felt like I was upside down and to the side. And I'm like, what is going on right now? I'm like, yeah, nope, still sitting in my chair. um, there's there's quite a bit of range of what people can feel. People have said to me it feels like an ayahuasca journey without the ayahuasca,
Yeah.
right? So because it's an entire journey experience. Most people come out and say that was an hour and a half because
Yeah.
time doesn't exist.
Yeah. So how do you deal with like the skeptics? Like, I'm sure you've encountered people like, this can't be real, man. Like, how do you deal with that?
It's funny you say that because I don't encounter skeptics.
Okay.
I don't know if it's just me. Honestly, I don't know if I live in some cocoon
Mm-hmm.
But when I tell people what I do, it's like every time I open my mouth, there's a client.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know if it's, um, like maybe my energy is not for the skeptics because I'm not here to prove anything to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
That's not my thing. I'm here to work with people who are ready and want it. And I think that's who I attract. I'm not
Yeah.
here, I don't have a combative energy, right? So I don't attract that.
Wow, amazing. So now you said that you're going to go into like maybe a little deeper into people's soul contracts. So can you explain to me a little bit of what that's about? Like, how much can you see in a soul contract?
You can see a lot. You can see, oh gosh, I mean, you can see medical things sometimes, right? I'm not a medical intuitive, so when I do my readings, I don't typically go into health issues, not medical health issues, but each one of the frequencies is tied to a potential health issue. For instance, the 8 frequency often is tied to mental health. The 9 frequencies oftentimes tied to lower back problems,
Mm-hmm.
right? And there's different reasons for that. So there's that. There's also just a deeper understanding of each frequency because when I do a reading, I mean, we only have 1 hour together. And if I tell you any more, like I have to almost gauge each person to see how much they can handle because even though I can say more, it could be way overwhelming for them. It's
Yeah.
just too much, right? And actually, when I first started, that's how I used to do my readings. And I've noticed it was just too much for people
Yeah.
in one sitting. So even I'll tell you, even with my own soul contract, there's still times I'll catch something and be like, oh, I've never seen that before. That's where that's coming from.
Oh, man. Well, I have to admit, like, you read my soul contract, which is how we met. Um, and it was definitely very enlightening for me. I think I have to dive deeper into it because maybe there was only so much that I could absorb at the time, but it was definitely very enlightening. So I give you that. But now I get to ask you a question that I ask all my guests. And it is, what is a weird habit or ritual you have that makes your life more joyful?
Yeah, that's so funny. For me, I feel like my entire life is weird and it brings me so much joy, right? Even like what you asked me earlier. Well, when people ask you what you do, and I'm like, oh, things are about to get weird, right? But I'm like so joyful. The fact that I'm about to drop something on them and watch them be like, what did she just say?
Yeah.
So maybe that right there is a good one because I,
Because it,
I find it comical. I love it. I know it's weird. What I do is weird
mhm.
to others, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'll go with that one.
Great. Joy every day is awesome. Gellyahnah, it was a pleasure having you. And if you're out there and you'd like to hear more from Gellyahnah, you can visit her website at yoursoulscontract.com. And that soul does have an S after it. Or you can check her out on her social, which is Soul Contracts Practitioner. And yes, there is an S after contract, where you can listen to her podcast, you can schedule your own reading, all links, as always, in the show notes below. And I'd love to hear from you about this episode. Do you believe in soul contracts? Would you like yours read? Hit me up on Instagram or Facebook at Farrah Haidar. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you'll get notified when a next episode is available. Also, I'm giving away a PDF of some of the best quotes we've had on the show, beautifully designed to print and journal your thoughts. Email me at farrah@farrahhaidar.com and title it Quotes. Talk to you soon. Till then, chase your happy.